What you are about to hear is highly classified. And welcome back to The Zone. I am Brant Fowler, and you may be familiar with, in the past we've done, or I have done, special extra episodes of Zone 4 on various events like Flashpoint and the New 52. I figured this time around I would, since we're trying to do more video and trying to do more with the Zone 4 YouTube channel and everything, that I would turn this into a video series for this particular event. And of course I am talking about the big event going on right now, which isn't really an event, it's more of a soft reboot, which is Marvel Now. All the new #1 titles. Some of my friends over at Dark Avenger Inc. are already covering many of them. On Zone 4 we actually all bought and discussed Uncanny Avengers #1, so you can go listen to that episode, and there'll be a link in the notes below to that episode for you to listen to that. But what I'm going to do for this particular series is I'm going to personally review all the Marvel Now #1 issues. So yes, I am making that commitment. So I'm going to read them all, at least the first issues, and give you my thoughts on them. So first up, I'm going to talk about Iron Man #1. Now, I did talk with the Dark Avenger Inc. crew briefly on the live show here recently about my thoughts on the book, but I was very brief. So I'll go into a little bit more detail here, and just to put it up front there, I think I gave it a 4 out of 5, or maybe a 4.5 out of 5. I'll stick at a 4, and I'll tell you why as we go through this. So that's kind of my grade for this book. But at first I was very skeptical of the whole Marvel Now thing. We've seen this before. I've kind of ragged on the whole thing through Zone 4, but I wanted to stay a little bit objective and try to enjoy it for what it is, and try to wait and see. That's kind of what I did with the New 52 and Flashpoint, and various other events as well. Marvel, with their big summer events, they kind of let me down at the end every time, but hopefully they've kind of learned the lesson, and they're moving forward. I kind of like the idea of the shakeups on the creative teams, the way they're changing everything. It makes it interesting, and we kind of need that freshness. Anyway, so on Iron Man #1, it is written by GILLEN and drawn by Greg Land. And I know that a lot of people have their own opinions about Greg Land. I actually fell in love with his art because of Cross-Gen Sojourn. Love that book. But that provides one of my negative points about this issue, which I'll get to when I talk about the art. But the basic story here, it's taking Tony Stark and Iron Man back to the basics. We all know Iron Man, especially after the popular films, and of course the Avengers film. As a mainstream audience, we've gotten to know him, and of course as comic fans, we've known him for many years, and so we know what he's all about. But this is, these #1 issues, the ones I've read so far, do serve as a great introduction to these characters, and this one is no different. We start with a kind of a narration from Stark as he's flying through the sky, kind of recalling some events, and then we get shot to a party where Tony Stark is being the playboy that he is. He's in the bar talking up the girls and everything, and it's just it's classic Tony Stark. And thankfully he's not drinking here, because we all know where that leads Tony Stark to. He is an alcoholic after all. But he's chatting up a girl, and of course Pepper Potts is there, and she's on him. It's kind of, they've kind of brought that entire dynamic back into the comics from the movies. Of course it started in the comics, but they've kind of brought that dynamic back with Pepper trying to keep him in check and everything, and trying to keep the ladies in check too. And of course she's a little jealous as well. And but the real plot starts when one of Tony Stark's associates is killed, and the Extremis gets loose, and that starts this whole story arc. Of course, we don't see a whole lot of that here. Tony Stark is with this girl, and he has to leave and jump into action. And he tries to take down AIM. He's got this cool looking new armor that's kind of putty, and it forms together, and that's where we get this whole black suit from, this black and yellow suit. And he takes out some AIM soldiers, but this Extremis is loose, and there's 4 more of them out there, so he has to track them down. So it kind of reminds me of some other classic Iron Man stories where there's so many out there, like especially the Armor Wars and all that stuff, and he has to track them down and take them out. So that's where we kick things off. As far as the writing goes, it's really good. I mean, I enjoyed the exposition was even it wasn't overdone, so it was interesting to read. It was very much in the voice of Tony Stark, so I did appreciate that. He does get the character, and he understands it and presents it in that way. The dialogue was witty, not overly cheesy or anything. It was just your typical Stark dialogue. The villain, I mean, it's AIM soldiers, but Greg Land actually made the AIM soldiers look cool. Now, as far as the art, Greg Land's art is beautiful to look at. It really is. I mean, he uses a lot of photo reference, but one of the detractions I had, which the Dark Avenger Inc. Crew commented on as well, is some of the expressions on Tony Stark's face were like really cheesy with the smiles and stuff like that, and it was crazy. And there was one shot of the girl that was flirting with him. It was the same exact pose with the little thumb and the lip and everything that Greg Land used for a pinup of Arwen from Sojourn, from CrossGen, and that kind of took me out of it a little bit, because it was like she looked dead on me. She just had the same cascading blonde hair, same smile and everything. So that's Greg Land. What are you gonna do? Overall, I like his art, but those were the only detractions, and that's why it doesn't get a perfect score from me. But actually, I may have even given it a 5 out of 5. I don't remember what I gave it on Dark Avenger Inc. But looking back through the issue and reading it once more, I have to downgrade that to 4.5, just because of those little detractions in the art that kind of took me out of it a little bit. But overall, it was a great introduction. I'm not a huge Iron Man fan as far as the comics go, but this one I enjoyed. I really enjoyed. I got into it, and I'm curious to see what happens next. And that's what you want from a first issue. You want something that entertains you, that brings you into the story, that introduces the characters, and that makes you want to come back for issue 2. And this one does it. So I would recommend it. And if you're not checking out Marvel now, you need to. Now. Alright, join me next time when I take a look at Deadpool #1. And as always, thanks for watching.
This has been a Gonzo Goose production.